Amazon Web Services has seen its revenues grow by 16% in Q1 at $21.35 billion, contributing about 17% of Amazon's overall revenues. While growth was ahead of estimates, the pace of growth is slower than the previous quarter. Now, AWS is not immune to the challenges that the tech business is seeing and has also seen job cuts as part of Amazon's plans to lay off. India continues to be a big focus area, though, where AWS does enjoy a leadership position. Having invested about $3.7 billion in India since 2016 to set up its cloud infrastructure and service the market, AWS is ready to make a bigger bet. Joining us now to talk about the global outlook and the India roadmap, I have with me Adam Selipsky, the CEO of AWS. Adam, many thanks for joining us here on the Global Dialogues. Appreciate your time. Before I talk to you about India, Adam, let's talk about the global demand outlook. Clearly, the macroeconomic headwinds are not helping your business at this point in time. You have, of course, talked about the slowdown that we have seen. Your CFO has talked about the fact that revenue trends in April are trending lower by almost 500 basis points. Given where you see yourself today, and I know you believe that in the long term your prospects look strong, but how much pain do you anticipate in the short to the medium term?
Good day, and thank you so much for having me on. It's such a pleasure to be with you all. I was just in India very recently for an entire week and was just so energized by all the activity there. And that really matches how we do think about the business worldwide. We feel very solid about the outlook for AWS. Customers continue to adopt the cloud. And really all of the reasons why over the past 17 years we've been the leader in this space and the pioneer in it remain true today. So it's true that in the short term, many companies worldwide are cost conscious. There is some belt tightening going on as folks look to optimize their spend on the cloud. And as you mentioned, that's just had a short-term impact just on pure growth rates. But we think that's actually a good and healthy thing for our customers to be doing. We want them to be efficient, and we want them to be really making the best use of their cloud spend possible. So I think companies will spend a period of time doing that cost optimization, and then we'll be ready to reaccelerate. Now, at the same time, I'll say that it's really important to keep on innovating. And we see so many companies not just cost cutting, but actually continuing, given how efficiently they can operate in the cloud, we see so many companies continuing to figure out new offerings, new ways, better ways to reach their customers so that when their part of the economy does turn around, they'll be better positioned than their competitors to capture that demand.
You're right in pointing out, Adam, that this is not AWS specific. We are, of course, seeing many companies having to deal with the kind of slowdown that we are seeing. But I want to pick up on two of the issues that you spoke of. And you said that you do expect your clients to go in for cost optimization, and that is something that you are seeing today. But you also hope that there will be a reacceleration. My question is this cost optimization only a cut in spends at this point in time, or are you actually seeing deferrals take place as well? And when do you anticipate this reacceleration to kick back in? On specifically the issues of what Amazon itself and AWS itself is doing to bring costs down. And, you've been part of the restructuring of jobs that's taken place as well across Amazon, and AWS has been part of that exercise as well. Should we expect more?
Well, first, let me say that in terms of role eliminations, it is clearly never an easy thing for anybody involved. And we've tried very hard to be incredibly respectful of anybody whose role has been eliminated and to offer useful and attractive benefits and packages to help people along their way. That being said, so many companies are going through this type of thing now, and there have been so many role eliminations across many different sectors, including the tech sector worldwide. And it is very important to figure out and then get really focused on our top priorities, the things that matter the most to our customers. And we've really gone through that exercise recently and have really tried hard to say, these are things we're going to put more resources on. We're going to double down in these areas. and of course to deprioritize things which just are no longer as important to our customers. Now, in most cases, that's just meant moving people around between projects, between teams, and so forth. There have been times, of course, where what we've needed to do is to get new skill sets onto the team, and for the most part, those are the cases where we've unfortunately had to eliminate roles. More broadly, we still see many customers investing deeply in the cloud. I was with a Fortune 100 bank last week, and they have already moved hundreds of applications into the cloud onto AWS, and they're looking to do far more of that and to move up to the next 1,000 applications onto the cloud. So despite the economy, we see a lot of customers still leaning into the cloud, not despite the economic uncertainty, but actually because of it. This is the best time to save cost, to not have to make capital expenditure, to have the agility to move faster than competitors, and to create wonderful offerings that are going to really benefit customers for years to come. People who can accelerate out of any short-term economic uncertainty they have are going to be the ones who will be the winners for the years to come. And so while many customers are indeed trying to be frugal with their resources today, they're still investing in the cloud.
You know, it's interesting that you brought up a bank as an example of a client or a customer that is still willing to put money on the cloud and still willing to invest in tech adoption, because what we are seeing today in the US specifically is pain across the BFSI space. So let me just pick up on that with you. You know, which are the sectors that you believe are the most vulnerable in terms of the challenges that we're seeing today? Where do you believe the spends are being impacted the most?
Well, I think you've seen some amount of this happening across industries. I wouldn't say it's any one country. I wouldn't say it's any one sector. And, you know, again, I don't think there's any real new news here in terms of the very unusual economy and number of surprises the world has had the past few years, ranging from the pandemic to, of course, all of the impacts of the war in Ukraine and the impact that that's had. But we still see tremendous signs of optimism. So just to stick with financial services, I was very recently in India, as I mentioned, and spent time with many of the largest banks there. And just one exciting example is Axis Bank. So, of course, Axis is the third largest private sector bank in India, and they've selected AWS as their primary cloud provider, and they're going to work with us to accelerate their digital transformation. And in fact, the bank plans to migrate 70% of their total workloads to the cloud over the next 2 years. And that's going to help them meet their growing demand for digital banking services. They've deployed over 50 mission-critical applications to AWS already, including new loan management systems, video know your customer applications, WhatsApp banking. And in addition, they're going to be moving core IT workloads to the cloud to reduce costs, to improve resiliency, to increase agility, and most important, to enhance their customer experiences. So around the world, and especially in India, we're seeing really exciting innovation happening in the cloud.
You know, so let's talk a little bit more about India, because you brought up the Axis Bank example as an example of why you continue to be committed and excited about the India story. You spent a week here, Adam. You started by saying that you were excited by what you saw in India. What does that then translate into in terms of incremental investments? Amazon has invested about $3.7 billion between 2016 and 2022 in India so far. What's the scale of the aspiration that you have for the India market, given how excited you seem to be about it?
Well, you're right. I'm very excited about it. I'm glad that's coming through, because I left India just absolutely excited about what the country is doing, the role of the government, what enterprises and startups are doing. And by the way, that $3.7 billion, that's just Amazon Web Services, AWS, you know, separate from the rest of Amazon's investment. And I'm very pleased to announce today that AWS plans to invest an additional $12.7 billion in our local cloud infrastructure in India by 2030. So on top of the existing investment, we'll be investing another 12.7 for a total of $16.4 billion by the year 2030. And that's going to support over 130,000 100,000 full-time jobs annually on average in India. And the economic impact is estimated to be over $23 billion of additional GDP in India by 2030. So we're very excited for all of that. We think it's going to be great for the country. We think it's going to be great for employees, for people learning cloud skills, becoming part of the tech and the digital and the cloud economy. And of course, we think it'll be, good business for us as well, because it is such an attractive environment.
Well, that's certainly the big headline coming in from you, Adam. $12.7 billion to be invested in India by AWS by 2030. If you can give me some indication of where this investment is going to go into, what you're going to be spending this money on specifically.
It's really in a whole number of areas. So in 2016, we opened our first large series of data centers. Yes. We call that an infrastructure region. And that first region was in Mumbai, and we continue to grow that significantly. And then last year, we opened up a whole second series of data centers, a second infrastructure region in Hyderabad. And so we anticipate growing all of that infrastructure rapidly between now and 2030. In addition, of course, we'll be investing directly in a very sizable team in India in all the different business functions. So we think that'll be important. And then there are a number of other areas. So we're committed to being 100% renewable energy across all of Amazon by 2025. And we're already over 85% of the way there. And what that means is that we've become the largest corporate purchaser of renewable energy on Earth, 4 times larger than the second largest purchaser. And a lot of that's happening in India. So in order to power our operations there, we've already invested in 6 large utility scale projects to generate renewable energy, which total over 920 megawatts. That's enough to power almost 1 million average sized Indian households. So those are renewable energy projects happening inside of India. In addition, we've committed to becoming water positive by 2030. And that means putting more water back into local communities where we operate than we consume. And we're working with nonprofits like WaterAid, like water.org, to improve access to clean water and sanitation. And that's already benefited more than 250,000 people across a number of states since 2020. And finally, I'll just say we're also working really hard on upskilling India's digital workforce. It's a critical initiative. There's going to be a big lack of cloud skills, a big gap between what's needed and the available workforce over the coming years. And we're trying to help close that gap. So since 2017, we've actually helped educate more than 4 million people in India, training them with cloud skills through a lot of different AWS programs and working in concert with local government, local nonprofits, and our local systems integrators and consulting partners in the country.
How much of a bet are you willing to make on AI, and how large of a focus is that likely to be? Your competitor, Microsoft, for instance, the CFO is talking about AI service tools adding about 1 percentage point to revenue, as well as revenues in Q2. Now, what could this typically mean for AWS going forward? How large of an AI bet are you willing to take?
We're making extremely large bets in AI and in machine learning in general. Amazon has actually been a leader in machine learning and AI for literally decades. If you go back to the late 1990s, personalization on the AWS retail website is really artificial intelligence. And in 2017, we launched SageMaker, which is an AWS machine learning platform that has over 100,000 AWS customers and is the leading machine learning platform in the world. We have a lot of experience. We've been investing in AI for years. There are foundation models, LLMs, as folks are calling these large language models, in operation today inside of Amazon, powering Alexa, powering search on the retail site. But Amazon intends to double down, triple down on all of these investments and to continue to really be a leader in generative AI. We do think that virtually every application that people see, that people interact with, will be transformed in some way by generative AI. And we know it's really important for our customers that we be the provider of those solutions to them. So we've actually recently announced a bunch of innovations already across the generative AI space. One of the biggest is Amazon Bedrock, which is a new, easy way to scale and build enterprise-ready generative AI applications. So the idea here is that we're trying, just like AWS has tried to democratize IT for over 17 years, we're going to democratize generative AI, making sure that many companies have access to generative AI and that they have access to all of the most important, most exciting models that startups and other companies are building. So we're providing those on a managed basis. We have a managed service where people will be able to access many different large language models from different providers. But a critical distinction for AWS is we're building an enterprise-level security and enterprise-level privacy from the very beginning. So companies are very concerned that if they use these models, that their data doesn't leak out to other companies, and that if they make improvements to these models, that their competitors don't get the benefits of those improvements. And we've built this in a siloed way, if you will, where if an enterprise uses models through Bedrock, that only their data won't go anywhere, and only that company will have the benefits of improvements to the model. So it's Bedrock we're very excited about. In addition, companies building these large language models, these are very large jobs. There's large compute jobs to build these, and can cost a lot of money to train these models. And so we've been investing in our own custom chips, our own custom silicon program for years, and have specialized chips that we put into our compute capacity now for training these models, as also for running these models, or doing inference, as it's called, on these models. And we've been doing it for a long time now, and we think more and more over time we will just have leading edge price performance and be really the best place in the world to run these models.
You know, Adam, that's quite the headline there, that AWS and Amazon are hoping to democratize generative AI. So let me understand from you what the execution roadmap for this is going to look like. You've also given us a sense of the kind of investments that have been made in this space already. But, do you see this largely being driven by organic innovation and organic growth? Do you, see inorganic possibilities, big ticket acquisitions in this space as well? What kind of future investments are you likely to make in order for you to be able to realize this dream of democratizing generative AI, and also the role that India can possibly play in this scheme of things?
Well, I think we're going to be open to wherever the innovation comes from is where we'll go. Amazon and AWS have been very innovative since the beginning. We've been the innovation leaders, so I don't think we're going to slow down for a single second on our pace of internal innovation. That being said, we will certainly also opportunistically look for external opportunities if attractive ones exist. Just to give you a sense of the innovation that we're already doing ourselves on top of these large language models. We also, a few weeks ago, when we announced Bedrock, we also announced Amazon Code Whisperer. And Code Whisperer is a coding companion for developers, which helps them write code and essentially takes the heavy lifting, the muck of code writing from them, so they can focus on the most value-added activities.
I'm looking at numbers from Synergy Research. Market share for AWS at 32%, but we've seen Azure and Microsoft move up to almost 23% now. Do you believe you're going to be able to retain share? And also, as far as operating margins are concerned, at 24%, the narrowest that we've seen them in 2017, on the back of the cost-cutting efforts that have been put in place, the reprioritization that's taken place. Do you feel confident of being able to hold margins as well?
Well, competitively, to be honest with you, we focus primarily on our customers, not so much on competitors, and that actually differentiates Amazon a lot in that maniacal customer focus, that customer obsession that we have. That being said, we do keep an eye on what competitors are doing. AWS created this cloud space in 2006. And because we were so different and so threatening to the business models of the old guard technology vendors, they pretty much denied it and then ignored it as long as they could. So we really had about a 5 to 7 year head start in this space. And because we innovate so quickly, and it's really always our goal, and we've succeeded in this and moving faster than anybody else, we've continued to have a significant lead in terms of the number of services we have, and also the depth of capability in each of our services, our security capabilities, critically our operating performance and reliability, which is clearly #1 in the cloud space. So we're very significantly ahead in all of those spaces, and as a result, we have far more customers who are far more deeply deployed than anybody else. If you look at the big, deep case studies and references we have around the world, in India, Access, as well as Bharti Airtel, for example, the really innovative things happening with the metaverse and virtual reality in the Bangalore airport. I mean, it's really it really goes through every sector. So we're very comfortable with our competitive position, but I believe you should always wake up every day really scared of disappointing your customers. So that's what scares us, not competitors.
Well, Adam, let me end by asking you about India and go back to that, because clearly that's a vote of confidence coming in from AWS for India. This $12.7 billion that you hope to incrementally invest in India by 2030. I want to understand from you what the India contribution is likely to be as far as AWS's revenues are concerned. You contribute 17% to Amazon. What will India contribute to AWS in the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, India is already a significant contributor to AWS, and I think that's only going to increase proportionally, over the next few years. India is an absolutely critical country for AWS. It's very important to our future health, our future growth, and the shape of the business in coming years. So we intend to continue to invest very significantly. We're going to continue to build infrastructure there. We're going to continue to hire more and more people there. We're going to continue to work, more and more with local systems integrators and consultants. Wipro is just one example of a integrator and consultant that we work with very, very deeply, and we partner with them across a whole variety of dimensions, many others as well. And really, I just see so much innovation that's going to come out of India with the national digital pillars, for example. And many of those pillars are built or are going to be built on AWS, including CoWIN, which is, of course, the national COVID solution. And that entire solution, from registration to scheduling to vaccination tracking to certification and ongoing management, all built on AWS. And as India digitally transforms, and the pace of that is incredible, and we realize it's going to be $1 trillion of digital business there by the year 2025. And we realize our role in being an important enabler of that. So I was really excited by what I saw in my recent visit to India, in visits with government officials, with enterprises, with our partners and startups, and we just see an incredibly bright future for India. And it's our intention to be a part of that future for many years to come.
Well, Adam, we wish you and AWS the very best of luck globally and here in India as well. Thanks so much for joining us and outlining for us what you have planned for the Indian market and what you foresee as far as demand visibility is concerned globally. Thanks very much for your time and for joining us here on the Global Dialogue. That is Adam Selipsky, the CEO of Amazon Web Services, speaking to us here on the Global Dialogue. We are going to take a break and come back with a lot more. Don't go anywhere. We're back in a minute on CNBC-TV18.